Recording.
Yep.
Okay.
So remember, you're still host, so you're gonna have to juggle a bit tonight. Okay, so quite excited about tonight because we're doing something slightly different. Well, I'm excited because I don't have to do so much work, which is good. So Fran's going to do a teaching tonight because we just you know, the Holy Spirit leads you to do these things, and I was been talking to Fran about her sales experience in the gym, and I started talking to her, and I realised how much experience she's actually got. I mean, she has got literally 16 years of selling, and so I asked her to put together like a few little for a training course, and the more I looked at it, I thought, wow, this is gold. This can be adapted, this can be repurposed for art and creativity, because the principles remain the same. Even though Fran's main experience has been selling in her gym, the principles remain the same. So I hope you're excited like I am tonight, because I really think this is going to help you. We're mainly focusing on, you know, the one-to-one, so person-to-person sales, and how you do that. And Fran has got some helpful hints, and she's going to teach one aspect of it tonight, which is overcoming objections, and she's going to explain what that means. She's already recorded one session as well, which is already in the group. Her angle tonight may be a slightly different angle, so it might be worth listening to both. We shall see. We're going to have the same format, so she'll do a bit of teaching, which probably, how long will it be, Fran? About 20 minutes or so?
20 minutes, 23 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, so it's quite involved. There's quite a lot of content. Think of your questions as you go along, because we'll have a bit of time to discuss, and then we'll do the normal thing. We'll go into breakout groups, and we will further try and apply it, and, you know, see how you get on. So let me just open with prayer, and
Can
then
we pray first Shirley? She got some the fix stuff to do with her mum.
Okay, yeah, I'll pray that as well. Yeah, so Lord, I pray for us tonight. Holy Spirit, thank you that you're just as interested in our practical day-to-day lives, and just as interested in us selling art as you are in us reading the Bible. And Lord, you are interested in our real experiences, and for Shelley right now, she needs your help. So we ask that we bring her to the throne of grace and say, Lord, give Shelley real amazing grace right now. Just pour grace upon her life. May things start to run smoothly, and give her success.
Shalom, peace on Shirley.
Yes.
Yeah, and Lord, I just pray tonight, just help Fran get across her point clearly, and may Holy Spirit, you just energize what she says to really help all of us, and may we all go away feeling like, yes, I needed that. This is going to really help me in my day-to-day business life with art and creativity. So I ask all this in Jesus' name, amen.
Yes, Lord, amen.
Amen.
Right, Fran, over to you.
Yeah, so if everybody can mute themselves, because once I start, I might not be as on the ball with you know, muting people or whatever. So if you all mute yourselves, that'd be fantastic. Okay, good. Just out of interest, put your hand up physically. Don't worry about the actions button. Just put your hand up if you already watched the video. And there's no guilt if you haven't. Oh, well done, Deb. Oh, well done, Karen. Anybody else? Oh, was your hand up, Craig? Carol watched a little bit. You watched it, Craig? Oh, that's awesome. Okay, that's good. Okay, my next statement is, if you've watched it before, you're not allowed to go to sleep when I talk tonight, okay? Okay, right, now, I know that there is a sort of a reputation out there that if you're a natural salesman, that you're a pushy, obnoxious person who pounces on people who want to buy stuff and railroads you into buying something that you don't want, in the pretense that you do really want it because the salesman tells you you do. That is not what I'm going to teach, okay? This is not going to turn you into an obnoxious, pushy person. This is a very natural way of it's a sales process that just works. And although I've used it in the gym, there's a definite process that I've learned, and I really do think it applies to anything. There is an expression. So from your point of view, you know, just because I've mentioned the word sales already in your head, you're probably putting yourself in some kind of category. I'm rubbish at that, or I hate sales, or I don't think I'll ever be good at sales, or well, I'm okay at it, but you know, I could be better, but or maybe I don't think I could be better. So, you know, there's all sorts of categories, but what I'm going to say is people do think that I am a natural salesperson. There's an expression, you know, you could sell coals to Newcastle. Newcastle is where coal came from. So if you can sell coals to Newcastle, you know, you can sell anything to anyone. Or there's another one, you can sell ice to the Eskimos, you know, they're surrounded by ice. So you can go in there and get them to pay money for ice, then you're a good salesman. Now, so some people would probably say I'm in that category, but honestly, I think it's because I'm interested in people, because I don't think I would be good at selling something that I don't believe in. So for me to sell, it has to be something that I believe in. So I'm assuming that we're in good audience here because you believe in your art, and therefore, you know, you can get good at selling it. Now, I have to say that this has been directed mainly at sort of person-on-person sales, you know, person one-to-one. It could be applied to Zoom. I don't see any reason why it can't be applied to Zoom. It might not be directly translatable on a website, because obviously you're not actually having a conversation with somebody on a website. Although if you're really clever and could have some kind of robot, you know, those little robots that pop up with questions, you know, like a conversation thing, you know, you could probably program one of those to do the same sort of thing, but we're not going to go there tonight. We're just going to do normal. Somebody walked into your shop or a gallery where you've got things, you know, you could just even be a little fair in your local village. Everybody's got a table and you've got a table selling your art, you know, sort of something like that. So this eventually it's going to turn into a whole course. So there's a whole sort of different categories, different sections. I'm zoning in on the one that I think makes the most difference. And what we'll do is we'll eventually we'll have a video and we'll probably talk in here. So you're getting all this for free. Eventually we're going to put a sales course together, and Paul thinks that it'll be really valuable and we'll actually be able to sell it outside of this group. So you're getting it all for free. However, you are our guinea pigs. So so we do appreciate the fact that you know that you're hearing this first. Now, in the gym, I was taught this process. I teach it to all my coaches, and I have to say that none of my coaches were natural salespeople before I taught them to sell using this process. So I learned it first from Curves originally, and I think it works really well. And I think you might never get to the point where you enjoy sales, like you jump on a customer because you absolutely love selling. I'm not saying you're going to get to that process, maybe, or that point. However, I want you to be able to use this process to get to the point where you're not scared of it. A lot of people are scared of selling, or they're scared of putting themselves in front of people, or, you know, feeling like they're being pushy. This is going to give you the confidence to sort of get over that, and just be interested in the person and have those. It's sort of like keys in a way of how to unlock, you know, what it is they want, so that and also that they'll admit what it is they want. So this section, which I think makes the most difference in the sale. So if you don't include this part, I think at the end, usually the sales process falls apart and you won't make a sale, or the probability is you won't make a sale. But if you do this bit, it kind of sweeps a whole lot of stuff under the carpet and makes the sale a bit more effortless towards the end. This section, as Paul mentioned, is overcoming objections. What he missed out, and what's really, really, really important, is that it's overcoming objections in advance. The in advance part is really important. You do it in advance so that when you get to the end, you've already overcome the objections and they can't bring them up. Okay, so it's actually, I think it's actually quite clever. So what you have to, in order to be able to overcome objections in advance, you have to kind of pre-think what you think those objections are. And you're probably in a better position than I am to decide or to have the experience of what these objections are. So I've just come up with 4 that I think would apply to selling art. I won't be completely off par because I'm not stupid, I don't think. But you might have more experience in what's actually, you know, realistic. And in the breakout rooms, you're going to be talking about your experience of objections that you have come across with customers that you're trying to get to sell your art. And the clever part about it is that you ask questions in advance that sort of digs into the objection. You find out where they're positioned on it, and then you're kind of by them answering the question, you're getting them to admit something that they then can't go back on later. This will make more sense when I get there. Okay, so the first objection that I thought of was probably price and budget. You don't want to spend a whole lot of time with this person and then at the end they go, oh, I can't afford it. Okay, so in advance, these are the sorts of questions that you can ask. Now, when you're going through this, the process doesn't have to be A, B, C, D, E, F. You don't have to do it in order. So you could be introducing yourself as they come in the door. You can be talking to them. So I'm not saying you're going to jump straight into this. You know, there are other parts of the process that you have to, have to be polite and introduce yourself and all of that. So you're not going to immediately, this is not the first question you're going to ask them when they walk in the door. So what price, what budget have you got to laid aside today? It's a bit more gentle than that. But you can be asking the questions as you're walking around your shop, or, they're flicking through the art that you've got in a stand or whatever. But in order to find out where they are on price and where they are on budget, now those are two different things, but, the same two different sides of the coin. What budget have you set aside for art? And you notice I've said, have you set aside? I'll ask another question later that kind of gets them to admit that they actually can afford to buy art today. That's what you're trying to do. So they can't turn around and say at the end, I can't afford it. You also want to know whether they are independent in their buying decision or whether they have a significant other that is pertinent in them spending money on art. So as part, you can dig into it as part of your introduction of them and you, but you can also ask things like, is this supported by your husband, your family, your significant other? Is it a gift for, your husband? So you can ask questions without being rude or obnoxious or being too personal, to find out where they are on who else is part of the buying decision in their family. And hopefully you'll find out, A, you want to know, do they have a husband stroke significant other? Do they have a family, in their home? And are they independent in their buying decisions, or does it depend on what the husband thinks, or are they buying it together or whatever? So is this supported by your husband, or are you buying for your husband today? You want to think in advance how you're going to ask the question so that you're not tripping over yourself. You have to pick the words that are quite deliberate. So I said at the beginning, what budget have you set aside? That presupposes that they have set aside something. Okay, and you're going to dig into that. So you can ask things like, is this budget available today, right now? And are you looking to walk away with an art piece that you love today? So, you know, you're just politely asking, you know, so are you looking to walk away with something today? And one thing I would say at this point in the sales process, you're always making statements that suppose they are going to buy something today. So it's called a lever, and I will have another section on that. So the lever is you're preparing them for a buying decision today. So you keep talking about it as a fait accompli. What are you going to buy? You're going to walk away with a piece of art that you love today. What have you set aside to buy today? And that's really important. So you keep sort of talking excitedly about them walking out the shop with something that they love, you know, or something like that. Once they've answered those questions satisfactorily, they would then feel uncomfortable to go back and admit otherwise. So if they have admitted they have a budget that's available today, you could get them, if it feels comfortable for you to ask, you know, is it £60, is it £100, is it £1,000, whatever. If they've got that, if they've admitted that they've got that budget available today, then at the end they can't turn around. If you're offering them a piece of art that's, you know, £80, I'm just picking these figures out the air, so don't be offended if all of your art is more expensive than that or cheaper than that, whatever. So they can't sort of then say, I can't afford it. Or if they've admitted that, you know, the money is theirs, it's their decision, they can't then turn around and say, oh, I need to ask my husband, or my husband won't let me, because they've already admitted that it's their decision, or that, you know, it's not up to him. And they can't also say, I'll come back and buy it next week when I have money, because they admitted that they set aside a budget, that they have £100 available today. So they can't say that, yes, I've got the money, but I haven't got it today. It'll only be available next week. So you can probably sort of see where we're going with this. You're digging in, and what I call that is a power statement. So you're, by asking the question and them answering it, you're kind of getting them to admit a statement that then becomes a power statement, which is along the lines of, I can afford to buy a piece of art that is this value today. Now, they're not saying it in so many words, they're not exactly saying it in a sentence like that, but by answering the questions, they have kind of said that out loud. And they would feel uncomfortable or a bit silly, you know, to go back on it. So do you get where I'm going with overcoming the price and the budget in advance? So they have got a price in mind, they've got a budget in mind, they've got a budget available, and they're admitting to you up front before they even settle on a piece of art that they would like, so that then that can't come back and bite you when you get to the end. The next objection is kind of not particularly an objection as such, but when I go through it, you'll see what I'm saying. I'm calling it space / size / color. So the sort of thing I'm thinking of is, they get to the end, you show them a really nice piece of art and they go, oh, but I don't like that color, or it's not blue, or I wanted yellow. Okay, so you're going to ask them things. So space / size / color, you're digging into what it is they're looking for and the requirements around that, so that you can then select something that is right for what it is they need. So it's not just about, can they buy art today? It's what kind of art is it they want to buy? You know, first of all, do they have a requirement, or are they just vague? They just want to buy something. They don't have a specific space in mind. So you're going to ask them things like, what type of space are you looking to fill with art? Is it just one space, or do you have several in mind? You know, or do you have a whole house to fill? Have you just bought a new house and, you know, you want loads of art to put on the walls? You don't know what the situation is, but, you know, you're interested in finding out. Are you fixed on colorways, or do you have several preferences? So if they've got a room that's got a blue sofa, white and blue walls, and blue curtains, and a beige floor. If you pick a piece of art that is purple or something, they're probably not going to want to buy that. Or they might have an idea of what fits in a blue room. Now, if they think purple fits in a blue room, then that's great. But you want to know, what do they think is going to fit in that space? So, are they just looking for something that's blue? Are they looking for something that's maybe yellow or green? Or, they don't have a colorway preference. Sometimes they don't know they have a preference at all until you ask them. So they might say, do you know what? I hadn't really thought about that. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think yellow would work. I think sort of yellows and greens would probably work. Purple wouldn't. I don't want anything that's black and white. As you dig into the questions, they're going to hopefully open up, and they're going to sort of start thinking, imagining what might fit in there, and let you know what their preferences are. You could ask about subject. Do you have a particular subject in mind? Do you love wildlife? Do you like landscapes? If do you want a tiger on your wall? If they said no, I hate animals, then you say, well, what sort of thing are you? What would work? Is it abstract? I mean, you can probably come up with the questions better than I can on this particular subject. Is it abstract? Do you like realism? Are you looking for mountains and rivers? Does it have to be sea? Do you want sunsets? There's lots of subject matter around there that you can ask. And then you're also asking about the size. What size of art are you looking for? Does it have to be on canvas, or does it have to be framed? Are you, is it three-dimensional or whatever? If they have a huge, if the size that they mention is absolutely humongous, and you haven't got anything that size, then either you stop the process now and say, come back in 6 months when I've done a humongous piece of art, or you could start preparing them to think about filling that huge space with several bits of art. Have you thought that actually, not just one painting, but maybe 3 would that are linked in subject or color, would actually give the eye a lot more to look at on that wall, rather than just one piece of art. So you're getting them to think about what would actually fit their space. Are there any other preferences? You can ask very open questions to find out, what it is they're looking for. With all of the questions, if you are putting your questions together in advance, you always want to ask open questions, okay? So there's open questions and closed questions. Very simply, a closed question gives you a yes or no answer. So, would you like a blue painting? The answer to that is yes or no. That's a closed question. You're not giving them room to come up with lots of answers, or, the open question would be, what colorway are you thinking of? They can't turn around and go, no, I'm not answering that question. Or they might say, I don't know. But by digging into it, again, you can get them to answer. So you're always asking open questions. So when we're on the phone to book an appointment, I never say, would you like to book an appointment today? Because the answer to that could be no. I always say, we've got 3 appointments today or tomorrow, whatever. We've got 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or 1 o'clock. Which of those would you prefer? So they can't say, I don't want an appointment. So if you're offering them art, well, we've got 3 pieces of art here. Which one do you like? Not, do you want any of these? Because the answer to that could be no. Okay, so you're always going for open questions to dig out what it is they're thinking. The answers will then give you a really good idea what they're looking for. If you point out several pieces that fit the bill, they can't very well say it's the wrong color. If they said they want yellow or green or whatever, and you show them all those, they can't turn around and go, oh no, actually I wanted blue. they might have to, you know, by showing you them things, they might start rethinking their answers, but that's still good as long as it doesn't, you know, close everything down. If they don't mind size or color, then they can't object to it without going back on what they already said. What you will find is sometimes asking these questions is actually honing the requirements of what's in their mind or what's not in their mind. Sometimes they don't really know what they're looking for. They just kind of, when they see something, they'll know, oh yeah, that's it. But you're basically trying to put a little bit of shape on it so that they can rule out whatever you show them, but by stating, you know, like it's not blue, or it's too big, or it's too small, or whatever. So you're getting some basic requirements in there as you go through, or at least honing down their requirements, or getting them to admit that they really don't mind, so then they can't object at the end. Because and the thing about this is that what you have to remember what they said, because you can then very politely, you won't be obnoxious, it won't come across as obnoxious. I do this all the time. You can then very politely say, if they say, oh well, you know, I don't want blue, or I wanted blue, and you point out something that's blue, you can then very politely say, okay, oh, but I and you say it with a smile on your face, oh, but I thought you wanted blue. You know, you said a minute ago that you wanted blue. Is something else, you know, and then you ask another question, is something else changing in your mind? Now you're imagining that, now you've seen it. What is it about this that makes you now think that you want something other than blue? So, you know, sort of dig into it as you go along. The next objection is time, looking and thinking. So you can probably imagine the statements that we're trying to avoid when we get to the end of this. So the first one, so time, looking and thinking. So you don't want to get to the end and they go, oh, no, I haven't got time. So, you know, they would be getting their credit card out at this point, but, oh, no, I haven't got time. So you want to avoid that. Or it could be, I'm just looking, salesman's worst nightmare. I'm just looking. And the next one that we hate in the gym, which is, I need to go away and think about it. Okay, so you're going to overcome those in advance. So so again, you remember, you're not going to be blatting them with all of these questions in a big sequence. You won't have a questionnaire out with a clipboard as you're going through, unless you want to. But I suggest probably not. You're going to be doing this very gently and naturally as you go around looking, or you know, as you're chatting, or as you're looking at pictures or whatever. So what sort of time do you have today to look around and decide what you'd like to purchase today? Again, I've thrown in what you'd like to purchase. What time have you got? So if there, you know, is there anything specific you have to rush off to after this? If they admit at this point that they don't have anything to rush off to, then they can't throw that in as an excuse not to buy something at the end by going, oh, I've got a dentist appointment, I have to run. Okay, so you find out what time they've got. If at this point they do say, actually, I've only got 5 minutes, you might at this point decide, do you know what? I might be spending better time with somebody else in this shop. You might want to look around the shop and go, I want to spend some time, I want to find out who else in this shop has got time, rather than wasting time on somebody who's only got 5 minutes. Or you could just draw all to a close really quickly and just sort of say, okay, if you've only got 5 minutes, have you seen something that you'd like to buy today? And just get straight to the point, because, you know, if they're going to walk out in 5 minutes, you haven't lost anything. Or definitely get their name and number and an email address or something, so you can send them some ideas afterwards. So is there anything specific you have to rush off to after this? Decision time. How good are you normally at making time for your art purchases? So you can see kind of what I'm getting at here. So, you know, are they normally good at making time, or are they, you know, making time to buy, or Or are they always kind of rushing around and going, oh, you know, I'm not going to buy today, or I'm not going to take the time to make a decision. So you're going to find out if they admit that they're normally quite good at making time, then again, you can use that. Have you often looked at art and gone away to think about it, then wish later that you'd bought it at the time? You can see what that's overcoming as soon as I've said that. So if they admit that there are times when they've thought about buying something, they've gone away, they didn't buy it, they thought about it, went away to think about it, and then the next time they came back, either it wasn't there or they're not in that city anymore. So if you're kind of sort of trying to suggest very gently that they don't want to just think about it, because thinking about it isn't actually putting art on the wall. And then I'm going to say, if you see something you really like, do you think it's better to buy it now in case it's gone if you come back later? I'm just asking the question. I'm not being obnoxious. I'm just asking the question, you know, do you think it's better to buy it now rather than think about it? And I've kind of recoined a phrase that we use in the gym. So looking and thinking doesn't get that beautiful art on your wall. Are you ready to make the right purchase today? And you can sort of always say it with excitement, you know, sort of like, oh, you don't think about that art that's going to go on your wall. And depending on how they respond to that, you know, you've either got a winner or you're going to have to do a little bit of more work. But you're trying to overcome the thing where you get to the end. It's like you've heard the expression, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Well, you want to get the horse to the water, but you want to make him drink as well. And you don't want to get to the end and then they say, I need to go away and think about it, or I'm just looking today. If somebody walks into your shop or your gallery, there is one thing I suggest you never, ever, ever greet them with, which is, how can I help you? Don't ever say that, because what are they going to say? What's the big response to, how can I help you? I'm just looking. You don't ever want them to say, I'm just looking. You are going to take time to get them to say that they are not just looking today, but they are actually good at making decisions, and they're going to make a decision, and they're going to walk out that shop with something beautiful to put on their wall. So that's hopefully going to overcome all of that, or at least if they haven't got the time, you're not going to waste the time. That's important too. The next one is value/treat yourself. I imagine the reason I picked this was I can imagine that one of the objections to buying art is that it's sort of a luxury item. It's not like buying bread that you need to stay alive. You know, people might consider it something that you can do without, or you know, you need to spend money on practical things before you spend money on art. So I'm going to sort of dig into where they are on that subject. Hopefully, if they've come into an art gallery or they've come into an art shop, they're obviously interested in art. You don't go in there. I don't walk into a pet shop because I have no intention of ever buying a pet. So if they've come into your shop or your gallery, then the chances are that they are actually interested. So I'm going to ask things like, have you purchased art before? Are they an art sales complete virgin, in which case you need a little bit of kid gloves? Or, you know, do they do this every day? That will also tell you how much money they have used to buy art, you know, whether it's something that they do a lot, or are they a collector or whatever. What would normally prevent you from buying art? So I'm actually asking them to give me the objection that I then want to overcome. Okay, so what would normally prevent you from buying art? Do you have anyone in your circle of influence that has tried to tell you that art doesn't have as much value as practical items you could buy with the same money? So ask that question, not do you think this, but has anybody else tried to tell you? In other words, has your husband tried to say, or your sister or your daughter or whatever, you shouldn't be buying art to put on the wall, mum, you know, you need a new pair of shoes before you need to buy a piece of art. So find out where they are on that, and what value do you place in art? Where are they on that scale? I really like this one. What are your reasons for having art in your space? Is it being surrounded by beauty? Is it to lift your mood? Does it make you feel happy? Lift your spirits when you're surrounded by lovely paintings? You're putting in their mouth, or you're trying to get them to say the reasons for having art in the first place. So, you know, to solidify their reasons for buying. Do you like supporting artists generally, or an investment? Is it inspiration for your own projects? You know, do you like looking at art on your wall whilst you're writing books? Some people like to listen to music. Maybe you like to listen to art. In the same way that treating yourself to a massage, so this is about value and treating yourself, in the same way that treating yourself to a massage makes you feel valuable, just purchasing artwork, do you see that like treating yourself? So you're kind of trying to underwrite the value of art to them. When was the last time you treated yourself? Are you excited to be treating yourself today by buying something that you love? Or find out another reason why they like to have art. You know, maybe they suffer from depression. You're not going to ask them that, but maybe they suffer from depression, and just having beautiful art around their home actually lifts their spirits. You know, maybe they're stuck at home looking after an invalid husband or an invalid father or something, and just walking around the house seeing beautiful stuff on the wall actually helps to keep them sane. You know, you have no idea why they would want art on their walls, or what kind of art they want, or whatever. But if you do know what that is, you can, and why that is, you can use that to solidify the fact that they want to have that value. You know, they're treating themselves, they're putting value into their purchase, and therefore they're putting value on themselves by investing in themselves for whatever reason it is. You know, they like looking at art, if that makes sense. So those are the four things, that the four questions that I came up with. And what you're trying to do is get them to admit in advance all of the reasons why they actually want to purchase something today. And then when they get to the end, it's much more difficult for them to turn around and use any of those things to avoid the sale. So for example, if they've said, this is, you know, to do with spending money. No, this is my money. It's my, you know, it's my money. It's my decision. I don't have to ask my husband. It's nothing to do with him. It's my decision. So then at the end, when you actually present them with their purchase, or the opportunity to purchase, they would feel silly, or it would look silly to turn around and then say, oh, I need to go and ask my husband, because they've then gone back on what they already admitted. So I would say that overcome the objections in advance, 90%, 95% of the time, it does work. And it's not that they would feel silly bringing it up. It's the fact is they don't bring it up. They don't bring up the objection because they've already admitted otherwise. And that's the whole point.
Excellent.
Of overcoming objections in advance. And I would say that I have had, especially with the husband one, or the thinking about it, that they have tried to bring up the objection. So we get to the end, and you know, they say, oh, actually, do you know what, I need to talk to my husband. So I'll go, okay, here's the phone, go and talk to him.
So Fran,
That usually works. Yeah.
yeah, excellent. So well, the main thing I got out of that was brilliant, is that the questions are the important thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, you know, when we went for a meal on Friday, you know, that's what a waiter does, isn't it? They come, so selling is serving.
Yeah.
So we've got to get this in our mind. We're trying to find out what they want, and whether what we do fits into their. But what you're saying tonight is really just, in a way, it's helping them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Clarify, because often they don't really know what they want, but you're ahead of time of, you know, getting rid of the excuses, aren't you? Because we all make excuses, don't we, when we're buying? We're often thinking about what reasons not to buy, and you're helping them overcome them ahead of time.
Yeah, and
just to ask you, so how long did it take you to learn that? Because, you know, people will think, well, you know it, you know, really well, but it took you time to get that, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it probably took going through. We had like a video thing, so I would be watching videos and then answering questions. So you learn the theory of it, and then I would practice it. I think when we did the training, I probably did a couple of days training on it, a couple of practices, and then I was straight into it. Okay,
yeah. So well done. That was really good. Should we give Fran a clap, actually?
Thank you.
Virtual clap. And I was just thinking it would be good, I mean, not tonight, but it would be good to apply some of this. We could test this out on each other, couldn't we? Mm-hmm. And have you got all those questions? We ought to put that in the membership as well, didn't we? The list of questions, because some people can then you take one or two and think about it and practice them. Yeah. Anybody else want to share anything? You got any burning questions for Fran? Let's just have 10 minutes of just questions, and then we're going to go into breakout rooms.
Yeah, Craig. Okay, unmute yourself.
You're not unmuted. You're still muted.
Oh, you have to unmute yourself. Oh, okay, you got it. Yeah, okay.
How do you fix your price?
Okay. So
How do you just find out?
Yeah. So that's a slightly different part of the sales course. But what I would tend to do is I would have a kind of ballpark sales, but I would inflate the prices slightly so then I can offer them a discount. So what really works is when you're always offering some kind of discount that is available today. So you use that again as a lever. So you know the fear of missing out, the FOMO that people talk about on the website, you know, buy today because tomorrow it's, you know, this offer closes at midnight or whatever. If you want to, let's just keep it simple. If you want £100 for your painting, then charge 110 and offer them 10% discount if they buy it today. So always have something that you can throw in. And if you've done, I mean, car salesmen, all sorts of salesmen do this all the time. We have a service fee that we do as a discount, and we always give them 50% off if they buy today. Now, theoretically, if they came back tomorrow, I would charge them the full price, but most people don't ever come. You know, most people take the 50% off today. So it just depends on what your
For example, my portrait painting, I estimate that was about 10 hours of my time.
Right. Okay. So would that come out as a
that would come to £100?
Okay, so I would put that on sale for something slightly more than that, and then if they say, look, I tell you what, if you buy it today, or if you take this today, I'll knock 10% off. And if you know they've got a special something, you know, if it's their birthday or whatever, you can use any reason you want to give them a sale today, you know, to give them a discount today. People love discounts. And you know, 2 for 1, buy one get one half price, all of that, you know. So you can get people to pay more if you can do a 2 for 1 deal or something like that.
I mean, price is something we need to talk about separately, because there's a lot of issues with price. So I want us to really, let's concentrate mainly on the objections, but price is like a whole subject in itself, I think, that we need to think about in advance as well. Again, Helen.
I was just thinking that when we were, you know, asking all the questions and things like that, I was wondering if it might be good to put commission idea in that as well, because if you're asking somebody personal questions about, you know, the furniture and what the house looked like and the wall space, I think it'd be good to just to have that in your mind, you know, what commission work you were able to do, wanting to do.
Excellent.
Okay, that's a very pertinent option. It wasn't one that I'd really considered at all when I was putting the stuff together, but that would also give you a really good excuse to ask lots of questions. You know, if you thought there was an option for commission work, and that would look really natural. It wouldn't look like you're being nosy at all. It would just, you know, that would fit right in. So that's a really good one.
And these questions, you could put it in the online space. You could be a questionnaire of some kind on your website, on the form. You know, again, you're thinking in the key that Fran is saying as well is thinking in advance of what, you know, what people are thinking. In marketing terms, what they're thinking, feeling, saying, and doing. You're digging into how they are.
Yeah.
Who's next? I can't remember. It was Lois, you next, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say a good opportunity to take emails from people. I would have thought.
Yes, that.
Yeah, very good.
Further contacts.
Yeah, in the
Can I
first.
send you anything?
Yeah, in the first. The first part of the sales course is sort of source lever intro, and that's where, so as soon as they've come into the shop, as soon as you're introducing yourself, I would be finding out you know, their name. I would have some sort of excuse to get their name, their number, their email address. Maybe it's a prize draw, you know, we have a prize draw this month, and you know, can I get your name and your email, and you know, whatever reason you can get their details, and have it very naturally as you know, as a clipboard on your counter or something, so they can see that everybody else has put their name and the number and the email address. You know, when Paul had his concert, everybody that came in, I was like, can we get your contact details so that we can tell you about future concerts? You know, if it's an exhibition that you're in today, you know, future exhibitions, if they're interested in your work, that kind of thing. So get those contact details up front. So if you do have to run off, at least you can contact them.
Yeah. Madeleine, you had your hand up, didn't you? I thought.
Oh, I didn't, but I found a really good website by this artist, and it's got a really good commissions page.
Oh,
and it really focuses on how I can make your dream come true.
That's it.
It really backs up everything Fran was saying.
Oh, good.
You know, I think she's probably had sales coaching or something, and it does a step-by-step process so that it really breaks it down. You know, it's more like a sort of personal commission kind of idea.
Could you
There's
post
also a
that in the
gallery.
group?
Sorry?
Could you post that link in the group? Because that would be really helpful.
I will indeed.
Yeah.
And it's so good because she went to the same uni as me, and I think she's about the same age or something, and she does similar art. I just found her while I was like Googling something for my art class. And it's really helpful, you know, to sort of use someone else's site as a model, and you can like ask them for advice. You know, sometimes that works. So I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Cool.
And that is a big key, what you've just mentioned there. In any copy that you do, any website, you know, any sales material of any kind, marketing, you're always thinking of what's in it for them, what with them is the acronym. So, you know, most artists make this mistake of the website being all about them, but actually most people want to know what's in it for them. So, you know, that's a big principle to learn when you're marketing anything. And Fran's very good at this in the any other person got anybody else got a question, or should we one more question? Come on, someone must have something else. Melody, there we go. I knew there was one.
Okay.
There we go. It wasn't really a question. It's just that when I'm on Instagram and I see, I comment on something, and it's like, I mean, there's all kinds of reels on Instagram about life, all different venues of life. I'm amazed at the reaction of people. Sometimes you'll make a comment and it will get, I've got one that's like 1,000 likes. It's the most educational thing. It's very, very interesting because you don't realize what gets people lit up until you start looking at threads and comments and things, and it motivates them. I thought that was an interesting point.
Yeah, and it's what's important to keep in mind, Melody, as well, is that there's a very big difference between Instagram likes and actually making a sale. This is because it's
Sure.
to do with the intention of the post.
Right.
And this is why we want to teach you some of this things, especially with sales, because if you get this mindset, it will help you with everything to be focused and be intentional. And
Right.
it works because we're human beings, and this is what
Right.
you know. When you hit, it's like this waiter. You know, when the waiter comes to your table and asks you questions and said, you know, they don't ask you, do you want a meal? Do they? You know, they're expecting you to choose. They give you a menu and say, right, what have you chosen? So they're expecting you to make a
Right.
selection, because there you are in the restaurant. So it's having this mindset, but it's something you just need to learn. We all need to learn to get better at.
It's more about getting into their heads. You know, when you were asking us, what is your future buyer doing today? That was my point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, you know, ask the question. One of the things to do is to ask yourself, you know, what are people thinking? What are they saying? And what are they doing? You know, what's going on in their life?
Well, that was all I was drawing a parallel to. Yeah.
And Tanya, does this help? Because we had a conversation earlier today, didn't we? We were talking about sales, and you were talking about confidence. Does this, you know, confidence comes from knowledge and experience, doesn't it? So does this get you set up a little bit more to prepare yourself for sales?
Excuse me. Yeah. I think that it helps give you a frame, because you just don't know where to start, right? You just like, I don't know what to say. I don't know who I'm talking to, but it gives you a framework. Okay, well, you've already got these questions in mind. When you see that person, you can approach them with the mindset of, how can I help them? But you're not going to say, how can I help you? Like Fran said, you're going to be more specific, because I think if you're more specific, the person is not so, I don't know, caught unawares and feel like you're invading their space. You're approaching them with something that, if they're actually there looking at art, like she said, then you know that she's already interested. So this is not something where you would go from door to door, you know, and go, yes. Hey, can I do a commissioned piece for you? You know, it's not like that. It's very different. You already have a vehicle, so you've already got to be in a shop or a gallery, or somebody is looking at your stuff, and then you present. That it makes a whole lot more sense when you have that kind of context. Because if you're just, to me, these questions would get on my nerves if it was somebody that was like getting in my space, unless I was already, you know, there looking. So yeah, so but I guess the first thing you have to do is be in one of those places. You can't possibly, that's kind of where I'm trying to figure out what to do next. Where do I go? Right?
Get yourself in front of people, get your art in front of people.
Right. Yeah. And I was talking to Paul about how I feel like I've tried different things and they haven't worked out. And Paul, I was just listening to Dutch Sheets, and he was talking about people who are successful persevere. That was the message today. I was like, he's really trying to get it home to me. You know, it's like, you have to persevere. You have to keep going. You can't just say, oh, that didn't work, I'm going to go sit in a corner and cry. You know, I mean, I haven't been doing that exactly. I just have let frustration kind of sidetrack me, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, Fran.
I was going to say, sometimes I think the things you've tried can become tools in your belt. So anything that's, you know, we do a fair amount of, you know, when we go out, we have a table and we get people to, you know, give us their details, and we phone them and invite them in and all that kind of thing. And as soon as I get an objection that I haven't thought about how to overcome, I go away and think about it, and I turn it into a tool that I put in my belt for the next person that says that. So
yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, one that it took me a while to figure out was when somebody said, so I'm handing them a flyer, you know, would you like to come? We're doing prize draw today to win a free membership, something or other. And the rejoinder that I found difficult to overcome was, I'm already in a gym. And then, so I thought of 3 things, and I put that in my tool belt. So the next person who said that, when they said, I'm already in a gym, and I'd say, how often do you go and how long does your workout? Because ours is only 30 minutes. And so I engage them on that level.
Yeah.
And that's not obnoxious. Or if I'm feeling a bit cheeky, I'll go, well, I say, not do you go, because quite often people who say, and I discovered this, people who say I'm already in a gym, they're not actually going, but they're just using that as an excuse not to come to yours or not to be interested in yours. So I don't say, but you go, because that's cheeky, and could be considered obnoxious. I would say, well, how often does your work? How often do you go, or how long does your workout take? Because that is only 30 minutes, and you know, blah blah blah. So you can
and I want you to think about this. Imagine if you do take these steps, and you know, when you've done the whole of the course that we're putting together, because at the moment it's not put together. Well, imagine the difference you might make. Imagine you're in a room of with 5 other artists, but you have learned these principles. You're more likely to sell than they are, aren't you?
Yeah.
Even if you only know one of these things, even if you've only got a few little things prepared, it's better than, you know, you're one step ahead of someone who's unprepared. And if you're asking questions, you're going to come across a lot more easy to talk to. And I was going to ask you one question, Fran. What with art? What if people say, "Oh, I really like that"? Say they look at a piece of art you've got there, and they go, "Oh, I really like that." What would you say next?
I would probably dig into why they like it.
Okay.
And then I would start to get them to imagine where they're going to put it. So
right.
I say, oh, you like this? Okay, can you imagine somewhere in your house where this would fit or where this would look nice? Have you got anything like this in your house? Have you bought anything like this before? You know, how would it make you feel if that was on your, you know, if they've said they want it for their bedroom or whatever, you know, how would that make you feel if you wake up in the morning and see that on your wall? You know, it's all about the person. It's not about me wanting to sell this to you. It's about me wanting to find out why you want it and how it's going to make you feel. And so you're trying to persuade them that they want to buy it, because half the time they do, but maybe they feel guilty about buying it, or they're not quite sure whether they can afford it or whatever. I mean, the example that if somebody walks in and they see a pair of red shoes that they really, really like, okay, if you immediately talk about the price, if you say these shoes are £100, the first thing they're going to say is, I can't afford to spend £100 on a pair of shoes. If you spend half an hour getting them to really, 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 really love the shoes, they won't care what price it is by the time they will want them anyway.
Yeah,
And they will
I-
find a reason why they can afford £100 to get those shoes. And that's kind of what you're doing, is you're finding out what it is they love, how you can get them to love it more, how you can get them to love it so much that they can't walk out without it.
Fran, while I'm just doing can you set up the breakout groups?
I have it
while
ready.
I'm okay, just one little final thing. I'm just thinking back to when recently I bought a print and some art. I mean, Marina Stewart, you may know her. She's on one of my Facebook friends. She had a special event, like, where she invited us to go. So she was with a whole load of our other artists, and we went to that event. So we traveled. It was only about half an hour trip, but just by being in that room surrounded by art and chatting to her for a while, set me up to buy some art. I didn't go there intending to buy anything. But I think we bought two things. I spent more than I probably had a budget for, because I was in the situation, and I also wanted to help her as well. That's another motivation for a lot of people with artists. So you start off, you don't always buy most of the time you don't buy rationally. You buy emotion. Emotion is the so you've got to, so the overcoming the objections is often the rational part of the brain coming in and trying to kick in to explain why you shouldn't buy. So the price, those are all rational reasons. So you want to keep it as the emotion is a good salesperson is enthusiastic about what they do. They're good, they've got an emotional charisma, as it were, and that's what attracts you. That's what gets you over that the final objection of actually getting your wallet out and actually buying that art. So I thought I'd just say that because I remember my own experience of buying some art recently.
And also people buy from people that they like. So
yes, they do.
If they like you, if they like you and it's obvious that you like them and you're emotionally invested in them, then they're much more likely to.
That's what happened to me. Yeah.
Emotionally invest.
Because we need to get on a little bit. So, Karen, just one last thing, and then we must get into our breakout rooms.
Okay, right. What's your? Yeah, go for it, Karen.
I don't know if anybody here could put that into practice, but the whole thing of collaboration, if you are in a gallery with lots of other artists and that customer says, well, blah, 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 it's like, oh, well, I don't have that, but that person 3 stalls down does. And then later that person 3 stalls down recommends the customer to you because they know that you have what they have. But that's a side issue, but it's something, if you are in a gallery, that you think of the customer, what they need, and that customer probably will be so glad that you weren't just so selfish that they'll still might want to buy something from you.
Again, yeah.
And that's the thing. If the person really doesn't want to buy, you're not forcing them to buy. You're trying to find out what fits them. You're not trying to cajole them into buying something they don't want. That's the thing, isn't it? You're just helping them make a decision and not miss an opportunity. Really, is that selling is serving. That I love that phrase because it is. You're serving someone. You're helping them make a choice. You're helping them have something beautiful in their lives. Anyway, let's get into some breakout rooms, Fran.
Okay. So
what are we going to discuss?
Yeah, the question is, what is the most common objection you have come across? And then so think about one objection. After today's training, think of 3 questions you could ask to get your customer to admit this objection is not really there. So you're thinking of the questions that's going to tease out the fact that really it's not an objection. Okay. And then for this objection, this common objection that you've come up with, that you've most experienced, you state the power statement you are aiming to get your customer to admit. They're admitting it by answering questions. Okay, so for example, I've done enough thinking and I'm ready to buy some art today. That is overcoming the objection about I haven't got time.
Okay, let's get going, Fran, because that could be a bit too complicated. So let's just
Okay, so but do people know what the questions are? So think about the most common objection you've come across in selling art, and think of 3 questions that you could ask to get your customer to overcome it in advance, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's go then. So we've got 25 minutes.
So what this is our group.
Yeah.
We haven't got many people in our group, have we? We've only got 1 person.
Yeah, I don't think, has everybody? I'm
Do
assuming
do you want to put Karen in another group? So,
I thought she was in another group.
well, no, that's the double.
I think so, yeah.
Why don't you go into another group then?
Or maybe she hasn't clicked the button.
Just put this one in a group, okay?
Hang on a minute. I think because Tanya's just right. Wait a minute. Right. Let me just sort it out. I think what's happened is I think I put you in with